Well, I gotta say, I actually really like this episode. Yeah, I mean, look, I know I'm late, right? I know this is a really late review. Well, it's not that late. It's a couple days late. I apologize. Again, I was not, near my computer or in a position to watch it. Just things didn't just turn out the way I hoped it would. But that being said, I managed to watch the episode because I think Toonami apparently re-airs the new episode like Saturday night. So that's good to know. As I said earlier, I really liked the episode. Like genuinely speaking, I think so far this was probably the best episode. I know it was only the first of a two-parter, but I think overall I actually really liked this episode. So I just want to give you guys the quick and dirty. Let me now go into detail. So, if we recall last episode, Lois, found out about the whole evil Superman thing that happens in a number of other universes where Clark either does the Injustice storyline, or as some people, or as a person from my commented on my last video, listed the other ones that, again, I'm not familiar with. So, as I said, I appreciate that comment for pointing that out to me, and I did respond to them saying, good to know. But at the end of the day, it still says the whole evil Superman thing. So, this episode, again, so the way it goes is okay, Clark gets a new power. This is the whole, it kind of dulls out his new powers as time goes on. I mean, still don't, not a big fan of it, but whatever. That's what the way they want to roll with it. That's the way they want to roll with it, I guess. So he gets super hearing and he rescues a bunch of people. He tires himself out. And on the flip side, Lois kind of now has a seed of doubt, but I'm glad she kind of didn't fall into it too hard. She did have moments where I felt like she let it control her a little too much because, as I said, aside from Clark, being Superman and kind of dealing with the whole hearing thing and the return of a couple of villains from, throughout the season, uh, Lois and Jimmy are working with Vicky Vale. Now, for those who may not be familiar, Vicky Vale from the comic from the DC universe is a reporter for like in Gotham, based out of Gotham City. The Gotham Gazette, I think, is what it's called in the show. It could be something different in some other DC continuities, but again, she just works for the newspaper that is based out of Gotham. Say whether or not she's accurate to the character or how she is. I'm not going to comment on that. Again, feel free to comment below if you think whether or not she was like an accurate representation of who she was in the comics and whatnot. But Vicky Vale in this one at least was kind of she's the hard-nosed and investigative reporter who wants to get to the truth, but she also kind of is a little how shall we say, doesn't mind using people because she came to work for Perry, or not even work for Perry. She came to help, or rather, she took an offer from Perry to write something for the Daily Planet. Turned out she's only using them so she could become the daily, like the chief editor at the Gotham Gazette. So she just kind of used them in the end for that. Again, not much of a character that's relevant. The only relevancy is kind of how Lois was kind of caught between like, her doubt and her faith in Clark. Now, I know some people might be annoyed at we're having yet another episode kind of touching on this subject when we just literally had Lois kind of accepting it, the whole thing, or rather we just had the conflict between them resolved and now we're doing this again. But it wasn't that bad. I will say this much. It was kind of like, it was there for a split second, but then she kind of went, no, I have faith in Clark, and I will, you know, believe him over Vicky Vale. In the end, obviously, her faith for Clark won out. So I'm glad it didn't really try to do the whole, does she believe him, does she not believe him kind of thing. Because again, obviously, what took precedent in her mind was seeing how much Clark was exhausting himself out. Now, this kind of then leads to a moment that I get why it had to happen, because this is always the natural question with Superman is his goodness really is genuine, right? Because people always ask the question of, well, an alien with his kind of power, right, with all these abilities, the fact that he's basically the equivalent of a god, like a real genuine god who, quite frankly, can't be stopped by like 99% of people. Like they have no shot against him, right? And they kind of had a moment where Clark was chasing after the invisible guy from like the Inner Gang episode a couple, from earlier in the season. The guy's about to literally get run over by a truck. Clark obviously pushes him out of the way because his first concern is, saving the guy, right? And that was kind of the neat part at the very least. And this is kind of the one thing another thing actually I should give the show credit is it shows Superman just being Superman. It doesn't try to do the whole kind of God thing or the whole kind of thing that like the Zack Snyder Man of Steel did. For as much as I don't mind that movie, that's kind of the one thing I wasn't the biggest fan of with Man of Steel. And, I'm glad they at least with this one just made it very simple. He's a guy who wants to simply do the right thing. They even had a moment earlier in the episode where he legitimately helped a little girl, find her parents. And I thought that was a nice little moment. Then obviously, when he pushed the guy out the way and the truck hit him, obviously, look, he's the immovable rock. The truck's not going to win. And so people obviously looked at him and they got scared because it's like, bro, he just caused a whole fucking accident, right? And nearly killed somebody. Because again, that whole front side of that like dump truck was kind of caved in, so there's a good chance the person driving that was probably was hurt or something. And obviously there was a whole like crash behind them. And then this plays into kind of the finale or the end of the episode, which was a giant fight between Clark and like several of the villains that he had fought throughout the season. Yeah, Deathstroke, Parasite, I forget her name. This is embarrassing. Hold on, give me 2 seconds.
A few moments later.
Livewire. There we go. I don't know why the name just kind of escaped me. As well as the 3 intergang criminals, and I believe some like person who used like these overpowered flamethrowers from like a couple episodes back. And that was about it. Yeah, and so obviously, they were kicking Clark's ass for like a good chunk of the fight, and then this is the thing I don't understand, and the show was kind of made fun of earlier for this. It kind of had like it gave Superman like a Sailor Moon-esque transformation scene. Then there was this moment during the fight in which he kind of powered up like this like skin of energy, like this like energy, encased his skin for like a split second, and then it kind of reinvigorated him and allowed him to finish the fight and ended up beating just about everybody. And then Parasite nearly killed him. And then shows up, Lois's father. I'm still convinced that's her father. Amanda Waller as well. I think that's it actually. I don't think there was anybody else. And they, shut the whole thing down. And obviously they take Clark away. And that's how the episode ends. Overall, I really liked it. I'm actually excited to see what next week holds. And I can say this much: next week we will be back to a normal schedule. I apologize once again for the wackiness with my schedule the last week or so, week and a half really, but thankfully things will calm down and we'll be back to a normal schedule to finish out the last 2 episodes, I believe, for this show, or for the season at least. Honestly, from what I've seen, I think the show I think if it has a season 2, which a lot of, Warner Brothers has done this, where shows that you didn't think would get a season 2 got a season 2, so I'm kind of hoping this is one of those cases. I wouldn't mind seeing a season 2 of this one. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it here. Like I said, enjoyed the episode. I like this was kind of the first real fight we've gotten in a while. That was kind of worth a damn. Last couple episodes have been kind of like null of this stuff. So I'm glad to see this, this come back. Anyway, folks, thank you for listening to my rambling for 10 minutes. Leave a like, comment. I'm curious to see what you guys think. I know it's been a few days, but, I'm curious to see what people think about the episode. And, well, I'll see you guys next time.